Hi, this is Matthew Solomon, Sales Director, D&B Properties, welcoming you to the D&B Dubai and Beyond podcast. I'd like to introduce you all to my good friend and esteemed colleague, Associate Director and Team Leader, Mr. Adam Seyman. Hi, Matthew. How are you? I'm very good. So before we go into today's topic, maybe just tell everyone a little bit about yourself, what you do at D&B.
My name is Adam. As Matthew has introduced myself, I'm an associate director within D&B, been around for just over 2.5 years. I work in off-plan secondary. Today I'll go specialist with Al Qudra area, which covers quite a few clusters of communities. I've been recently promoted as a team leader within the Al Qudra area, which is the luxury and high-end homes, and really enjoy it. That's a little bit about myself.
So I want to talk about summer. I think it's a very hot topic here in Dubai. Everyone assumes that there is some sort of summer slowdown. But before we do that, I just want to stay on you for a couple more minutes. And you mentioned you'd recently been promoted to team leader, which means as well as being associate director and elite agent here at D&B, you're actually also, I want to say managing, but I prefer the word leader. I think you agree,
True.
leading a team. How are you finding leading a team of agents, helping them grow while doing your own deals and still being a very active and successful agent?
It's tough, it's challenging, but I thrive on it, and it brings me joy and happiness. For people to succeed and see them grow, the efforts that I put in and leave an example, because I'm genuinely the person by just leading by example instead of just micromanaging individuals. I work together with them instead of looking at charts and saying, why are you doing this? Or there is no why you're not doing it. There's always going to be how we're going to get there to achieve together. And my managing myself is day to day. I don't go out of structure and I just continue. I just add a little bit more overload to my day to day, but it's been successful.
Good. Well, we'll touch on that, which is good. We'll come back to a bit more about yourself, how you work and how you navigate this market shortly. But like I said at the start of the conversation, summer, there's always been a notion in this marketplace. I've been doing it for just over 9 years now. That summer's quiet. I get it. A lot of people travel, school holidays, going back to their home country. But how have you found this summer?
For myself as an individual, I think fantastic. It's been better than last year. A lot of my clientele from last year's summer has purchased this summer. It was just building a pipeline with the trust element, because as I do secondary off-plan, the appreciation from last summer to this summer has grown rapidly, and they'll be exiting quite considerable times. And it's also about building the rapport and building a pipeline for the next Q3, Q4. Because once your clientels are abroad, wealthy individuals, because they are working high-end luxury, minimum homes I work around between 10 million up to 100 million. And they have time to have a reflect on their summer and to look at their next investment. We're having a plan. I'm creating structure for my clientele for every summer.
That's good. But that's quite key to this market, the thing you said about building your pipeline in Q3 and 4. In this industry where you sort of create your own luck and you create your own opportunities, there is no quiet time. So if you, for the sake of conversation, haven't got any active buyers, you need to be dealing with homeowners, sort of bringing them to market. So that's interesting. Going back to something else you said to me a couple of days ago, when we were discussing summer, like one of the reasons summer's considered quiet is because people travel, school holidays, this and that. But not everybody can afford to travel for the full 6, 7, 8 months of summer, right? What makes your side of the market, working with the more, high-end properties and the more high net worth individuals, is those are the sort of people that can actually travel for summer. They might have a holiday home in the Algarve or Barbados or something. So how do you find dealing with and navigating that?
I think it's an opportunity for me to catch up with them more in depth, in a sense that the high-end individual that I work with is they can have time in their hand to create the time for me for any property investments they need to do, or they need to offload any properties that I need to support them with. They'll ask for stats. I'll have more information given to them compared to the market last year, and I'll build more. They already know the answers, but I'm building the buffer for the comfort level for them to proceed when they're back. And it's a great opportunity because it actually builds more rapport with them.
Yeah.
Because they'll have more time to talk to you.
Sure.
I don't, most of the time through the summer, I don't really genuinely go into selling. I make it differently. My approach is very more personal, more about themselves, what their interests are, what their hobbies are. I get to know a little bit, get to know them more.
Build the trust.
Build more trust. Yeah, it's more about the trust for myself.
But do you find that with these kind of more high net worth individuals, even though they can afford the luxury of, say, a longer holiday in summer, do you not find that that kind of turns things on its head in a little bit? Because whereas during the rest of the year, they're probably very busy running their businesses and other things, whereas in summer, maybe they have a little bit of a slowdown in their business activities because they're on holiday,
Yeah.
and they can actually afford the time or the luxury to actually deal with you a little bit more and discuss their property needs.
Yeah, 100%. I think they've got a lot more time.
Yeah.
More time to reflect on it. And some of the, like a gentleman I have, 3-4 months, he hasn't spoken to me, just kept on saying, another time, let's reschedule. But now he's coming back on the 28th of August. And then we're here to hopefully to negotiate a home that he likes. He had time to reflect on it, to have a look at it more in depth.
Which comes to keeping in touch with these people.
Yeah, follow-up is so important. Like they always say to me, I'm a pest on the phone. I'm always I'm following up, I'm constantly following up to an extent that I'm not forcing to buy, but I'm making them understand it's a good opportunity for them.
Well, what you got to do, and like I say, I've done this quite some time now, is you don't want to follow up too much and end up being a nuisance.
Yeah.
But equally, you can't just be like a dirty little secret that's never there. You're there to sort of help them.
Yeah.
So you've got to. You've got to pop up in their phone every so often, whether it's a market report, whether it's just a polite phone call, a happy birthday, even that's a good trick I always used to do. So that when they are ready, they know who to call.
Yeah, of course, they always remember you. And my clients always remember me because I stand out. It's about my personality that I don't 70% of the time I'll talk about property, or 60% of the time, but the rest is just things in common. It's so important to talk about in general about life than just about investment, because they get calls constantly from different brokers, small entities to large corporates. They get phone calls every day, morning and night, and you need to stand out. And then I always have.
Yeah, no, 100%. You've got to stand out from the crowd, because you don't. You're just gonna get washed away with the rest of them. I know we've touched on the sort of the general sort of buyer demographic that you deal with. You did say earlier on in the conversation, off-plan resale and Tilal Al Gath. You know that I'm very big on area specialization, and I'm very sort of robust on the guys out there actually just focusing on sort of one area or 2 or 3 complementary areas. What's your take on area specialization?
It's the best thing I've ever did. When I first started within the clusters that I was working in Tilal Al Gath, I didn't have a clue what I was doing. But then I understood what the vision and what the return on your investments were.
Yeah.
Because you live and breathe on the product that you sell, and you really understand and you appreciate the market, where it's going. And the clientele, they understand and feel it, how passionate you are about a product, a home, a place, a community. When it first launched, about 2.5 years ago, there's only townhouses I was trying to sell.
Yeah.
And it was around 1.8 million, not to 2 million. But now they're worth 4 million, 4.5 million.
Yeah.
And from where it was to it is now, I always highly recommend for a newcomer within the real estate, for them to pick an area and understand the area that they're going to be working on, and just focus on the few clusters within the area, within the community. It's essential. If you get to think of, you do Tilal and then you go and do JG, Jumeirah Golf Estate, and then Datmak Lagoons, you're going to get lost in the transaction. But it's a huge achievement I've done.
And obviously one of the things that makes this job exciting, but can also make it difficult or easy if you navigate it properly, is you're dealing with so many different demographics of buyers.
Yeah.
I want to say demographics and sellers, of course. I mean, investors, end users, young families, different nationalities. The processes here can be quite complicated. So the actual basic job itself, removing area specialization and knowledge, is quite difficult and challenging and very competitive. So if you decide, or an agent decides, to do multiple areas and try and be a specialist in all of Dubai, they're giving themselves too much to go at.
Yeah, of course, they won't be successful as much.
No.
They won't be successful as much. I tried to do on other areas and I was losing control of what I was having and the income that I was achieving.
Yeah.
And then I was chasing different things like plots and buildings and I didn't understand it clearly because the actual sellers and buyers didn't believe me as much, because once you do the actual community that you work in,
Yeah.
they'll only come to you because they've got that trust element and then you can deliver.
Yeah. And you said the word chase, right? And in any sales environment, it doesn't matter what you're chasing. You chase a dog, it runs, right?
Yeah.
And chasing never works. You should never chase deals. You should never chase anything. You just got to work hard and almost let these things kind of come to you based on the sort of the hard work that you put in. Going back to summer,
Yes.
you did, was it 4 deals within 30 days?
Yeah, I did 4 deals whilst I was away.
In the midst of summer as well, right?
Yeah, I did a deal while I was on the train from Netherlands to Paris.
Yeah.
It was around 34 million, Malaysian mansion, very successful transaction it was. It was a back-to-back, which was from 9 million to 34 million.
Yeah.
Which it was great. I think I thought I had a really good the summer period.
No.
One of the nice, yeah, for sure. The income that I ever achieved, it was great.
Yeah.
Because I worked hard at it. And one of the particular deals was, it took me 4 months to close. And suddenly from 4 months to getting the buyer and the seller at the same time, it was a great achievement.
It's persistence, right?
Yeah, of course.
Just to give context for anyone watching this, doing 4 deals in a month, so 1 a week, is exceptional at any level of the market in sales.
Sure.
Even if you're an exceptional marina or downtown agent selling 2-bed apartments for 4 to 5 mil,
Yeah.
if you're dirhams, that is, if you're doing 1 a week, you'd be considered like probably one of the market leaders in your area. To do that 1 while away on a train between Paris and the Netherlands, I think I remember because you were ringing me up and messaging me quite a lot. But to do it at properties with a starting price of 10 million up to sort of close to 40 million is pretty exceptional.
Yeah, I've got to say. But I've worked hard at it.
Yeah.
It didn't come to me on the plate. I remember the days that I was battling for a couple of million deals. And it wasn't easy because it was the persistence and the hard work that I put in and the structures that I put in place for myself as a person to grow.
You got to do that, right? And I'm sure you're the same with the boys and the guys that you on your team that you lead. Is, you know, every journey's got a beginning.
100%.
You've got to start a little bit small to learn your craft, learn what to do, learn to sort of like not fail, but learn to sort of fall over, get back up, and then like you say, with hard work, persistence, learning your craft better and getting to be a better agent, you know, you can fast forward 12, 18, 24 months and be doing, you know, in one instance, a deal a week at 10 to 34 million dirhams.
Yeah, it's a great achievement for myself. I'd like to grow. I'd like my team to grow as well. I think as a team in itself, they're growing, as you know. We were first last month as a team, I think, top 3 in the secondary, which was good. And I'm trying to implement some structures in places for them, not just to manage them, but to give them a guidance to success.
Yeah, got you. Just on that, what piece of advice would you give, or do you give, when you get new people on your team? So it's how to, because the guys, like when we get newbies here, even on your team, they look up to you.
I give them the truth. I think within the real estate, is very important to understand what are the real terms of real estate, and not the dream. And it's important to understand what the actual real terms of even real estate is. It's one of the rewarding jobs. I always say to them, your check is an empty canvas. You write your check what you want to achieve. You have a target, have a goal, and proceed and set yourself different goals, what you want to achieve. It's going to be a car, it's going to be a house, you're going to buy an outright mortgage, or take your family on holiday to do medical care with your family, or whatever the little achievements. I always set them to have visual. And also as a advice, what I give to as a real estate person, don't think it's going to be easy. You need to put a structure, I always tell them, and have a target to achieve, and sit with the people that's actually achieving next to each other and work together on things. And it is the best paid job in the world. I keep saying it, and it's the loneliest, but you could make it so rewarding and so exciting. I come to work excited every morning. You know that. I come in the morning, I kill everyone's brain off. I'm the lion well of the
All
office.
day.
All day. I don't stop. Everything's in a dynamic way. And everyone knows when I'm in the office, and the staff, I want it to be a dynamic within the office, and have a positive attitude within the office, and believe in yourself, because people buy from people.
100%. Going back to that rewarding bit, I was interviewing someone from the UK earlier who's coming or looking to come over here. They're in, high street sort of retail estate agency, and I was telling them the kind of money that can be made, and she was saying to me, like, that seems like an awful lot. Why do you think you guys or the people in your marketplace, get paid so well? And when I actually explained to her how many processes
Yes.
that an agent here actually is in control of, it actually made sense.
Because
You go out there, you deal with the vendors, you take them to market, you list the property, you discuss with marketing how to list the property, you get the buyers. I won't go through the whole cycle, it's obvious where it's going, right up until the day of transfer. You go to the trustee office with
it's very difficult to control the whole process. It actually is a very unique skill set to actually, from the beginning to the end until the transfer, because anything can happen. Anything in Dubai, in UK, is so different. It's a set structure: seller, buyer, contract, 3 months. I see they can't go with another person. Not unlike in poker, but
I don't think there's another job in the world, and correct me if I'm wrong, people, but whereby you're part of every step of the journey, right down to the initial, making calls and sort of, introducing yourself to people that you've never met before, very, very back to basics at sales, right through to, fairly, and you see it in the office, like Jake on your team, for example, you see him with his AirPods on, pacing up and down the office.
He doesn't stop.
He doesn't stop, but he's just negotiating deals, and it's just, and that part's like, that's where the money's at, but that's where it gets more stressful. But literally he'll be doing that, and then the next day he'll be
losing a deal.
Well,
next day, which he has the other day.
Yeah, but that happens.
He's winning something and he's losing something, because it's not all in control. But I think it's a skill set, I think, within Dubai, and that you need. And you need to have a thick skin and keep going.
It takes a certain type of individual. You said a stat to me earlier. I don't know how true it is. Certainly not about our office, but about in the market in general. About like 70% of people in this market fail.
Yeah, they don't make it. Because I think that when they come into the market, they think they're going to make tons of money. But I think without putting any effort in, or having a brand image within the industry and putting themselves out there, being proactive, they want it on the plate for them to achieve easily. Nothing comes easy in life.
Of all the people I know that have been very successful in this industry, and I worked at one of the, the biggest companies before I came here to D&B, and we still one of the biggest as well. And I'd say honestly, without fail, without exception, there's nobody that's been consistently successful. Yes, you get those people with a lucky month, maybe a lucky year, but anyone that's been consistent in the marketplace and done well has always just worked hard.
Yeah, for sure.
After a few years, maybe you can work a little smarter over harder, but there's no cheat code, right? You've just got to give it all you've got, and the streets are paved with gold, but you've got to find the right streets.
No, of course, it's true.
So to finish off, something I always ask people: what piece of advice would you give anybody new to this market, brand new to real estate, to succeed?
Bring their A game, bring their personality, bring the hard work, bring the knowledge, be proactive, and have the hunger and to succeed, and be structural in such a way that you're not going to fail. Even if you fail, it's okay. It's okay to get back up, and it's okay to actually continue. It's not okay not to try, but it's actually an achievement by trying at least. And I think it's very important to give it a go, and if you really, your heart's in it, and be happy at your job. I'm happy at my job. Anytime I go anywhere in my life, and the advice that I would always suggest to people, wherever you're work is, that's your second home, near enough your first home.
You spend more time at work than
You spend more time at work. Yeah, whatever you do when you wake up is how you proceed and how you succeed during the day.
Yeah.
And I think it's important to have a structure, the hunger, and the willingness to learn, and things will fall in place.
You said something a couple of minutes ago which I thought was quite interesting about things falling over and sort of picking yourself back up. Obviously, as you can imagine, I get a lot of the agents out there when deals fall over, especially when it's their first deal. And it's like, the world has ended.
Of course, it comes crashing down.
Yeah. And I
Shouldn't be like that.
No, but I always say to them, and I say it with a smile on my face, it's better to have loved and lost than to have never loved at all, which is meant to sort of soften the blow. But the reality is, and what I say to people is, if you found yourself in a position where you found a buyer, you found a property, you've pieced the two together, but circumstances have got in the way, which has meant you weren't able to secure the deal.
Yeah.
You at least know you're doing 2/3 of it, right?
Yeah.
Okay, that extra third, which is closing the deal, is how people get paid. So again, I can understand the frustration, but surely it's better to be piecing together a buyer and a seller than piecing together nothing, right? Because if you've not got buyers and sellers and showing them properties and getting offers, then you definitely don't get it, right?
I think if it's happened, and it'll happen again, because you've done the right things to get to that position anyway. It's just fate if it didn't happen, and if things are falling apart.
They do.
It's not by luck you've got it. It's about the skill set that you've given and everything that you've given to achieve to until the end.
Yeah.
But I think in general, you just have to be persistent and be focused on what you're doing.
Yeah, and those failures kind of make you, right?
100%. I failed so many times, and from it, look where I have.
Exactly.
And I haven't stopped since then, and I'll never stop.
Fair enough. Any predictions for the back end of the year?
Me to be number one. Be careful, Galina.
I meant the market, but we can talk about it.
The market, I think end of the year is going to come strong.
Yeah.
There's a lot of inventories coming up, and a lot of handovers are happening. And then the industry, the sector that I'm in, I guess I can only speak for. I think it'll be a very good year for the end of the year for the secondary team.
Yeah.
I strongly believe so.
Good. No, I think so too. The market's gone from strength to strength.
Yeah.
It's very difficult to predict where it's going to go. I think every year for as long as I've been in the industry, there's been talk of some form of crash, whether we were close to the bottom in 2020 or whether we were in a bubble in 2023, 24. Constantly people are saying that.
They've been saying this for the past 3 years since I've been here.
9 years they've been saying since I've been here.
There you go.
There's always one reason for it to happen, right?
But then again, everyone's moving to Dubai, and everyone is actually, the Dubai structure and the government and the people is developing Dubai is creating pillars for the actual bridges that it doesn't crash. And from that, there's been a lot of more of a different nationalities been moving to Dubai for all sorts of reasons.
Well, it always seems to be every 12 to 18 months, there is another demographic or nationality that seems to have some kind of draw to come into Dubai. And so as long as that continues, and it will, because, I am biased, I live here, I own property here, I work here, I've been here for nearly 10 years, but it does create an environment where people can succeed and can live a great life. So
Of course.
long may it continue.
Indeed. I think end of the year looks great. I massively believe so. And I think it's just going to thrive even until many more years.
Good. Well, look, from my side, thanks, for all the hard work you do for D&B.
Thanks for having me, Matthew.
Let's finish this year stronger than last year. We discussed that earlier. We won't discuss it on camera, but you gave me your magic number. I genuinely hope you can do it, and no one wants to see you do it more than me, mate.
All right. Thanks, guys. Yeah. Goodbye for tomorrow.